Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast, hosted by yours truly, Scott Howell, and the incomparable Bradley Flowers. For agents, by agents, we're here to share real-life experiences, tips, and insights related to all aspects of both being an insurance agent and running a successful agency. So sit back, turn up the volume, and let's get down to business. Agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast. I am your fearless host, Mr. Scott Howell, insurance agent and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services based out of Huntsville, Alabama. Before we get started, let me introduce, he's a 6'3" sophomore, first-team All-American, Rivals, 5-star recruit, from Saraland, Alabama. Please welcome the incomparable Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
I'm great, Scott. How are you doing today?
Man, I am doing fantastic, and I am fired up about this episode. Guys, this is episode, if I'm not mistaken, episode number 21 of the Insurance Guys podcast. We will not stop till we get to 5,000, Bradley. 5,000 episodes.
Headstrong.
Probably going to take a little while. Guys, we have got probably one of my favorite guests that we have ever had on the show. Number one, he's from the South, which I absolutely love. Number two, I love his energy. I love a lot of the things that he's said and that I've looked at on Facebook and some other areas that I've watched him in. He is been called a tour de force of Southern humor, marketing, and branding. He is actually a co-author of a couple of different books and a senior business consultant. Co-authored the book Zebras and Cheetahs. He's also co-authored a book entitled Me, How to Sell Who You Are, What You Do, and Why You Matter to the World. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the other incomparable Mr. Colby Jubenville. How you doing, Colby?
Scott, I appreciate the opportunity to be with you and certainly know of the great work you and Bradley do. Well, and I feel a little bit closer to home by doing this podcast, and I appreciate the opportunity to spend a little time on your platform, and hopefully today we can say some things that will resonate with your audience and resonate with y'all. So I appreciate the chance to spend some time with you today.
And Colby, if you're looking for a hype man to introduce you on stage, I think Scott is for hire.
Colby, I'll even design the run through like we used to in high school football, and I'll do the intro, and you can just start running out to seminars through a run through while I introduce you. It'll be fantastic.
Well, you say high school football, and I want y'all both to know that I did go to St. Paul's down in Mobile, the womb of greatness. We graduate people like A.J. McCarrett and Jake Coker and Mark Barron. Now, Absolutely. When I played, we were 2-8. 2-8 my senior year. We beat both the Christian schools, Briarwood Christian and Mobile Christian. So we set the stage for greatness, and I appreciate the chance to be there. And I would absolutely welcome the opportunity for you to introduce me at any point.
I appreciate you saying that. Hey, before we get started, let me say this. Guys, to the 250,000 insurance agents listening to this right now, our mission on this podcast is to help you, to help your agency grow, to help you in your business, to help you in your marketing, your sales. We try, and I'm going to give props to my co-host here for just a second. I don't know of anybody else in the world of podcasting that does any better job of scheduling guests, getting people on our show. I would love to see another insurance podcast that does a better job of that. But Bradley, to you, my friend, you do a fantastic job of that.
It's probably my favorite part of this, to be honest.
And I think that's what makes us such a great team is the areas that I'm weak in, he seems to shine and vice versa. So, I'm just so blessed and thankful to have somebody that's able to spend the time to get guys like you on, Colby. But our mission here is to help you agents grow your business, become more successful. We don't ask anything of you except to subscribe to the show, tell your insurance buddies about us, and that's really it.
Scott and I do not have an end game. We don't have a program to sell. We don't have a course to sell. We have 0 sponsors. Right. We've had one sponsor ever, and they gave us beard oil in exchange for a sponsorship because a person we were interviewing has a large beard, Michael McCormick, episode 11-ish. And so the way you can pay us for this is to subscribe.
Absolutely. And we don't even have beards. We had our beard oil sponsor, and we don't have beards. Yep. That's a little interesting. Colby, I want to talk a lot today about a lot of different things, and this could veer off in a lot of different directions. let's talk a little bit about insurance agents, insurance producers, CSRs, agency owners, and how what you do and what you talk about, especially in the sell who you are, what you do, why you do, and why it matters world. Let's talk a little bit about the convergence of those two and try to give these guys some insights on things that they may not be doing now that maybe they need to be doing a better job of.
Bradley and I talked about this prior to the show, but I'll go straight to David Wilson. And the reason that he's my agent is, when I was 15 years younger, I met David, and David took a vested interest in me, and he educated me about what I needed to do to protect my family. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget the one thing he said to me. He said, I signed up with State Farm and got a life insurance plan through Phoenix with State Farm for $1 million. And David said, Colby, if you die, I will bring your wife a check. So it reminds me of a story that Joe Calloway tells. And Calloway, he's a mentor of mine. Mm-hmm. And he writes books. The titles are so good you don't have to read the books. But my favorite book that he's written is Be the Best at What Matters Most, the Only Strategy You'll Ever Need. And so in that moment, in my 20s, in my 30s, with my son Jack being born, and with the reality of life and future and career, when somebody says to you, I'll bring your wife a check, that's so much different than signing up for a life insurance policy. I'll be the one that brings her the $1 million.
Right.
And so Calloway tells this beautiful story, and I've kind of adopted and made it my own. I'd like to share it with you because I think it will resonate with your audience.
Please.
Calloway tells the story, and the story is, if you buy tires in Middle Tennessee, where do you go? And I ask the audience that, and they all say the same thing. They say Discount Tires. And I say, that's right. This was not planned. Discount Tires. Why is it that you go to Discount Tires? And they'll say, because they run to the car. And I'll say, that's right. I can come home every day from work. I can pull into the driveway. Jack and Mary Burke are there. They won't get up from their iPads. They won't say anything to me. I walk through the door, and nobody acknowledges that I'm even alive after working all day. But with my confidence, when my confidence is down and I need a little touch of confidence, I go to Discount Tires because when I pull in, they run to the car.
I love it.
And so here's the takeaway for the audience. I'd like to imagine that didn't come from the top. I'd like to imagine that didn't come from a policymaker. I think there's 3 guys that are sitting around a water cooler, and they've worked hard all day, and they got grease on their face. And they say, we sell tires. They're round. They have a hole in the middle. There's good, better, and best. How can we do it different? And I imagine that the guy that's worked the hardest, that has the most grease on his face, he says, I don't know. Maybe we can run to the car or something. Maybe we can run to the car or something. Maybe we can demonstrate to the customer that in that moment that they're the most important thing to me.
I love it.
And so if every insurance agent is listening to this podcast today, here's what you should be asking yourself. Am I demonstrating to you that in the moment that you are the most important thing to me? And when David Wilson said to me at State Farm in Murfreesboro, he said, Colby, I'll be the one to bring her the check. And there was no more decision for me. That was it. I'm buying the deal. Be the best at what matters most.
I absolutely love that story. I think that is something you have hit upon a topic that not only resonates with me, but also I think is one of the toughest things that we as insurance agents out there, don't care who you're with, don't care if you're an independent, Alpha, State Farm, Allstate, Farmers, Nationwide, doesn't matter. It is a very hard, or at least the perception is that it's very hard to differentiate yourself from the 5,000 other insurance agents that are around you. I think a lot of agents sit around that water cooler maybe by themselves, maybe with their other, their staff, and they think, how can I really differentiate myself from the 4 guys that are a mile away from me? We're talking about a topic right now that to me is a hot button topic in the insurance business. I find myself asking that question sometimes. What makes me different than Bradley Flowers? What makes me different than the Fountain Parker and Harbor out of downtown Huntsville that's been in business for 422 years?
I've got the answer to that.
Go ahead.
I've got the answer to that.
Go ahead.
I have ADD, and when I read books, I read them to find one idea. That's it. Once I find one idea of the 300 pages I'm putting the book down. And there was this book that I found. The title of the book is called Being Michael Porter. And Michael Porter, if you look him up, he's the foremost expert in corporate strategy in the world. And so the sentence from the book, you don't need to buy the book now because I'm going to give you the one sentence that you need that's going to answer this question, because it's a question that everybody asks. But he said, at the heart of competition is strategy. And at the heart of strategy is not being the best. It's about the unique value that you deliver. And so I went back to my whiteboard and I wrote it up and I said, it's not about being the best. It's about the unique value that you deliver. So then the question then becomes what is unique value? And unique value to me, to separate you from Bradley and Bradley from you and any other 5,000 agents in there, in that circle, are three things. And this is a great takeaway for your audience. Three things. Unique perspective. This is how I see what I do. Unique education. This is how I know what I do. And unique experience. This is how I deliver what I do. Now, the takeaway for the audience is they don't need to tell the customer, the client, that they understand the framework of unique perspective, education, experience. They just need to know the framework, because frameworks provide us structure, predictability, and efficiency. And so when I walk into somewhere and I talk to somebody's kids and I talk to somebody's parents, I'll say, listen, I look at higher education different than anybody else. My unique perspective is this. The greatest opportunity we have in higher education is to help kids find their voice. Voice is the intersection of talent, passion, conscience, and need in the world. The second greatest opportunity we have is to help them protect and develop and maintain their confidence, because here's what I believe. If you teach people how to find their voice, if you teach them how to develop, protect, and maintain their confidence, there isn't anything they can't accomplish.
Right.
See, that's my unique perspective. That's how I see what I do. And that person that's sitting across from me in that moment, they have to decide whether or not they drink the Kool-Aid. And if they don't, they don't. But differentiation is based on three things: perspective, education, and experience. And if you want me to keep going with this idea of the next story of education and experience, I will. But that's what people resonate with. That's what people want to understand and know. Well, how do you see it? How do you know it? And how do you do it?
So let's take that. Let's take our intersection there of perspective, experience, and education, all three being unique.
Yep.
How do we as insurance agents, most of us fall in the cookie cutter box of being an insurance agent, whether it's the way we dress, which I blow that out of the water.
It's so easy to do that too, though. It's so easy to fall into that and even be a little bit ignorant to the fact that, oh, well, you think you're different than everybody else, when really you're doing the thing that everybody else does.
Yeah, I think every insurance agent, if you got in your car right now and you drove halfway across the country stopping at every insurance agency, everyone would say, well, we're the best in customer service. Everybody thinks they're the best customer service agency.
And that's wrong.
Well, I know.
See, that's exactly what Porter's talking about. That's what the next person is going to say about being the best. Take it to the next step. Finish what Callaway said. Be the best at what matters most. So if you're going to build relationships, I think this. I mean, y'all are almost, I know I'm older than y'all probably. I think I am. And I'll date myself here. But my favorite movie is Jerry Maguire.
Love it.
And when I go speak all over the country, I'll say, what's the greatest line from Jerry Maguire? And I'll say the same thing, show me the money. But it's not the greatest line. The greatest line is when he delivers that mission statement. And the title of the mission statement is The Things We Think and Do Not Say, the Future of Our Business. And if you watch that clip with the Who playing in the background with the song I'm in Tune, if you watch that clip, what his mentor says is the key to this business is personal relationships.
Absolutely.
And my deal is the key to anything. How can I get, as a college professor, and y'all know the joke about college professors, right? I'm going to let you finish it, Bradley. Those who can do and those who can't what?
That's right.
Yeah, and those who can't teach PE. That's the old Woody Allen joke, right? So how does a guy like me get one guy to commit $1 million, a 7-figure gift? I don't care what realm you sit in. That's a big deal.
That's right.
How do you get a guy to commit 7 figures? And here's how you do it. You get in a boat with them. Right. You build a personal relationship with them. And so I'm going to give your audience 4 questions that they should ask every client to build personal relationships with them. Here's the 4 questions. Number 1, where are you from? Number 2, what do you believe? Number 3, what matters to you? And number 4, tell me about your relationship with your parents. I call those the 4 empathetic questions. If you can get people to tell you where they're from, what they believe, what matters to them, and their relationship with their parents, they are in the boat with you for life. And Jim Rohn says it best. He said the same wind blows on all of us, the wind of change, the wind of failure, the wind of opportunity, the wind of success. It's not about the blowing of the wind. It's about the set of the sail. But you got to get in the boat with these people. The minute that David Wilson said, I'll bring your wife to check, he's in the boat with me.
Right.
The minute that John Floyd said, Colby, if you can help me get this thing turned around, we can all prosper together. I got in the boat with him. So what you got to do with these people is get in a boat with them. And here's what I mean. When I tell people, they say, hey, where are you from? I'm saying, look, I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I went to St. Paul's. It's the womb of greatness. Mardi Gras started in Mobile, and I learned from a very early age that you could either be on the sidelines and watch the parade, or you can get in the parade and be a part of it. And I decided very early in life, I'm going to be in the parade. And, man, they just stop and look at you.
Right.
Like, I've never heard that before. And so those questions, where are you from? What do you believe? I shared already with you guys some of the things I believe. I believe the greatest opportunity we have in life as people is to help people find their voice. Mm-hmm. The intersection of talent, passion, conscience, and need in the world. And if you don't believe that, then don't be a part of it. That's fine. Because, see, alignment, when you align with other people, your commitment level goes up. When you don't, your commitment level goes down. And then what matters to you, Callaway says it best. I mean, if I looked at you, Scott, and I said, now listen, I need to know the 3 things that matter the most to you, because every decision I make moving forward is going to be filtered through what matters the most to you, because we want to be the best at what matters most. And then if you ever learn about the relationship that somebody had with their parents and they're willing to give that information to you, then you get inside their soul and start to build a personal relationship with them that goes far beyond insurance, far beyond anything.
Yeah, and I will say this. I had a 2018 sales extravaganza for one of my staff last Wednesday, and I would say 45 minutes of that was discussions about how to build relationships. We talked a lot about some of the same things you're talking about right now. I will venture to say, in the world of Geico and Progressive, and we're going to turn insurance into a commodity, there is still nothing more important in the insurance business than building those relationships, because at the end of the day, that's how you keep your customers. That's how you keep your clients, is through those relationships. Treating people fairly, treating people the way that you want to be treated, and helping as many people as you can. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
I think that we live in the experience-based economy.
Right.
And if your audience is taking notes, 2 questions that people ask in the experience-based economy is, number 1, was my time well spent with you? And number 2, was my money well spent with you?
Right.
And so if you're going to command my attention, then you better bring value in ways that matter to me. And the only way you can do that, Bradley, is say, I'm here to be the best at what matters most. Mm-hmm. Tell me what matters most to you. And what you will find is they will cock their head and look at you and go, I've never really thought of that before. because we don't slow down to think about it.
Right.
It's just like what we do with college kids. We say, hey, if you go to college, you'll get a job and everything's going to be okay. And you 2 guys know more than anybody. It ain't going to be okay.
Right, right.
I call that the big lie. And so I'll sit down and I go, all right, Mom, Dad, y'all ready? Because y'all participate in this thing called the big lie.
Right.
Let's all just get it on the table and have it together. Right. And I mean, the dad will always hug me and go, man, I really appreciate you bringing that. That is what matters to me.
Right.
Be the best. What matters most.
So let's talk a little bit about a book that you co-authored, Zebras and Cheetahs. I've read some of it. I've read the Cliff Notes, a model that takes the growth of organizations and makes it simple. Talk a little bit about that book. I want to hear a little bit more about that book and kind of the process of you guys coming up with that book. I want to hear a little bit about that.
You know, it takes me back and it makes me think about how this whole journey got started for me. And I think, Bradley, will appreciate this. At one point, I woke up one day and I said, man, I could have been successful. I could have been something great. And I was this bored college professor. I got my PhD at 28.
Wow.
I got full professor at like 35, 36, 37, somewhere right around there. And while all those things mattered to me, I just always felt like I wanted more. And so I met this guy named Michael Burt.
Coach Burt.
And Burt is, Burt is a freak of nature. We don't do a whole lot of stuff together anymore. But when we first started, I'll never forget what he said to me, Bradley. He said to me, he came and spoke. One of my students was in my class and said, you remind me so much of my coach. You need to hear this guy. Y'all need to meet. We met, and about 6 months into the relationship, he said, Colby, let me ask you a question. I'll never forget it. He said, who are you waiting on permission from to be successful? And I said, do you know who you're talking to? And he said, I'm not talking about this stuff in higher education. He said, I'm talking about getting out here in the real world and getting paid for your value. And I went home, man, and I didn't sleep for 24 hours because that sat on me so hard. And I think at some point in all of our lives, we make this gut-level decision to do. And the next day I woke up and I called him back and I said, you know what, you're right. Let's do this. I'm ready to get paid for my value rather than my time. Because we live in an economy where we teach our kids to get paid for their time and not their value.
Right.
We teach our kids, hey, what are you passionate about? It's not what are you passionate about. It's what unique, freakish skills do you have that you can offer somebody that they'll pay you money for.
Right.
And so Zebras and Cheetahs was born out of a time in my life where I transitioned from I'm still a very, very good college professor, but I wanted more. And I wasn't willing to just sit there institutionalized. And I have no disrespect for the academy. I've written all the articles. I've written all the books. I've done all that stuff. But, man, I want to get in a boat with people. I want the human experience. I want the human condition. It's easy to connect the dots after it happens. It's so hard to connect the dots before it happens. And so I was so interested in what forces are at play that Scott and Bradley can end up in one place and Colby and Michael can end up at another place. And how do we control those forces? And what are those forces? And how do we learn how to harness those forces and use those to help other people? That's what I just became obsessed with.
Okay, so to that point, just like Bradley and I ending up here together and that journey that we've taken together and building that relationship and that relationship has been, that bond between us has been, I'd say, increased dramatically over the past 6 months just based on our experiences together.
And you can feel it, by the way. You can feel
absolutely.
it in your podcast. I want you to know that.
Oh, well, I appreciate you saying
That's
that.
awesome.
We chewed a lot of dirt together and done some things together that are very special. I think, this is what I was telling somebody, the young lady I was training last week. I said, let me tell you something about experiences. The bigger the experience, the more trauma that you go through. I did 4 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. I played college basketball for 4 years at Birmingham Southern. I've lived about 14 different lives, and I continue to change and evolve. I've lived in London. I was in anti-terrorism for 2 years. I've done a lot in my life. I call myself the modern-day Forrest Gump, and I truly am.
What's the accent?
Yeah, exactly. So
well, first let me say this. I got to meet you face to face.
Well, come on. Anytime. I'd love it. Anytime, anywhere.
I'm down. I do a lot of work with Brassfield and Gorey. So
yeah.
I'm all the way in and out of Huntsville and Birmingham.
Yeah.
But what you just said makes me think about how I started as a middle school football coach and to evolve. And I told my mother a couple of days ago, I've been through some difficult seasons of my life in the last couple of years, and then I told my mom, I said, I don't need to do anything else meaningful. I've done more meaningful, like you just said, 14 lives. I've done more meaningful stuff in my 46 years. And if I die tomorrow, I think I've used it up and done what God's asked me to do. But
Colby, do you know how old I am?
No.
46 years old.
Are you really?
Yeah, 46. But my point in this, and I appreciate you saying that, but my point in this is I too am intrigued beyond belief at how two people can intersect together, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or and you feel that you feel that energy between you and that other person, whether it's over the phone or in person.
Yeah,
kind of the way you and I are feeling right now, and you feel that energy. And then is that just happenstance? Is that a God thing? Is that I don't know. No. I don't have all the answers, but I will say I'm very, very intrigued by two people intersecting at the exact same moment. Or maybe it's just on a phone call. Hell, maybe it's a cold call and insurance.
And with us, I mean, I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast or not, but we actually met on Instagram. And Scott said he discovered my account and was like, man, this guy's doing some good stuff marketing. And holy crap, he's in Alabama. And so we kind of connected over online for a few months, and gave each other props. And just honestly by chance, he was going to be in Mobile on vacation a year ago, 2 weeks. Yeah. And he reached out, and literally I was leaving for Alaska the next day. So just by chance, I mean, we got together. Hell, that meeting might have been a year later or never happened. And he literally walked in my office, sat a camera down, and we started recording and just started talking about marketing and stuff like that. And we got done, and he literally looked at me. The first words after the camera stopped rolling was, we need to do a podcast. And that's how this got started. I mean, literally, that's how this got started.
But I am intrigued by all that.
Well, Callaway, his next book after Be the Best of What Matters Most was Nothing by Chance. And I don't think it is. People ask me all the time, how did you make all this stuff happen? And for many years, my contemporaries laughed at me when I was at Southern Miss making $6,500 a year as a graduate assistant living in a I'll never forget, I lived in Jimmy Buffett's room at the Kappa Sig House in Southern Miss because I was so broke that I couldn't pay the rent.
Wow.
And I came home. My brother coached down in New Orleans. He coached at John Curtis. He won about 10 state championships down there at John Curtis. And I spent the weekend with him, and I came back, and somebody had a big party in my room. And I came back, and I just decided at that point I will spare you the details, and in fact I'll come to Huntsville and tell you the story offline. But let's just say I moved out. It's one of my favorite stories. So I drove up and down Hardy Street. I went and got a paper. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I started calling apartment complex manager jobs. And I had this liberal arts degree, and so I called the first one. They said, "Yeah, you sound great. Now, do you doctoral student, Millsaps College, yada yada." Be here for 4 years now. Do you have any plumbing and electrical experience? No, Colby can't turn Colby can't turn a screwdriver.
Exactly.
So the third time that I called, this woman said, "Now, do you have any plumbing and electrical?" I said, "Absolutely, I can do it all because you're hired." Right. And so it kind of speaks to, I think, what you're talking about here is in terms of the evolution is. I took that next step, and then I took the next step, and the next step, and then you end up I started a football team at Belhaven College, and I still remember I called Norman Joseph, the head football coach, and part of my personal brand is how do you use adversity to accelerate growth. If we teach people how to do that, that is and it's mindset more than anything else.
Agreed.
And I called Norman. And I said, "Norman, you don't know me, but my name's Colby Jubenville. I'm going to call you every day until you call me back." 45 days later, he calls me back.
Right.
And he says, he goes, "Colby, I don't know you, but you can meet me at the Hattiesburg. You can meet me in Hattiesburg at the Waffle House. And, I'll talk to you about this position. I want you to know there's 400 other people that have applied for this, and they all have college football experience, and you coached at Petal Middle School in Petal, Mississippi."
Right.
I said, "Well, I'll meet you." And so, I want you and Bradley to think about this. We've all interviewed for our first job. Now imagine interviewing for your first job in a Waffle House in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where the guy next to you that's going to hire you orders a covered, double chunked, die stacked, hamburger. And I order a water because I'm so scared. And interviewing in a Waffle House is like interviewing your first interviewing in an Exxon bathroom. It's just gross. There's just so much funk everywhere. And so, I'm already nervous. I'm already freaked out. We get to the end, and he wipes his mouth with his napkin, and I'll never forget. He says, "Well, Colby, I know two things about you." He goes, "Number one," he said, "you know nothing about coaching offensive line." I said, I don't.
Right.
He said, "But number two, if I gave you the chance, you go out and find us the players." And I said, "Coach, you give me the chance. I go out and find the players, and they'll be all conference, and we'll win national championships.
Right.
And he said, well, I don't have any money, but you can start tomorrow, and I can't pay you for 6 months, but I can let you live in a condemned dorm. And I did it. And
Wow.
in 2 years, here's the takeaway for your group about growing your business. I'll never forget what Norman said to me when we sat there at the very genesis of starting a college football program that in the first year was ranked 21st in the nation. He said, Colby, all I'm here to do is help you take the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to invest in other people, if you want to grow other people, you want to grow a business, and now we're turning away from the customer and back into the business, here's what I'd say. You tell somebody that all I'm here to do is help you take the next step. I worked 20 hours a day for that guy for 2 years. And when I went in to quit to go to Eastern Kentucky, I cried because I didn't want to let him down.
Do you know? Do you know that a part of that story that I love, and I love it so much that I had it tattooed on the back of my arm yesterday in 3-inch old English letters. Bradley can verify that in just a second. But it's the word grit, and you having at some point in time in that stage, in that season in your life, you made the comment, I called him for 45 days straight. That took a tremendous amount of grit on your part of saying, I'm going to burn the ships, and I don't care what I have to do. I'm getting this job.
I know, man.
And that started the journey that you're kind of ending on right now in terms of, that story anyway. But I have one last question for you, and then we've got to cut this loose. And I hope, beyond hope, we can have another one of these podcasts. I would absolutely.
I'd love it.
I would love to deep dive even further. So I've got one last question for you, Colby. What motivates you today? What gets you up out of bed today? What gets you going? What makes you drive hard to do what you do?
I was born to two educators. My parents are both teachers down at St. Paul's in Mobile, and they truly are responsible for building the foundation where that St. Paul's is today. If you go back to Mobile and you talk about Karen and Wayne Williams, my stepdad, Wayne Williams, who's my dad, took my life over at one, and I tell people that I was enrolled early on in life in the Wayne Williams School for Better Living and Better People, and he is so much better of a man than I could ever be. He just modeled such great affect, such great feedback, such great composure, all the things that I, frankly, if I'm being vulnerable, don't have. What I see in him in my 20s versus my 30s versus my 40s are so different, but at the same time, just so the same. You asked me a very specific question about what motivates me. And I think both my parents were very intentional about, you're born with a set of gifts. It's your job, not anybody else's job. It's your job to figure out what they are. You can't figure those out unless you have struggle, because struggle helps us do three things. And then when you tell me your story about being in the Marines and the next step of playing basketball at Birmingham Southern, I'm ready to drive down to Huntsville and meet you today. But struggle, I think, teaches you three things. It teaches you how to think better, communicate better, and make better decisions.
I agree.
And so when I think about what motivates me, I think about what my definition of success is. And so there's so many definitions of success. Athletes say it's picking yourself up off the ground just one more time. Mm-hmm. John Lennon said it's the continued expansion of happiness. Parents say it's the setting and achieving of worthy goals. To me, Thoreau said it best, and this is what drives me every day. He said that success is about advancing confidently in the direction of your own dream, to endeavor to live a life that only you can imagine, where you will find an uncommon success in common hour. And when I look at people like Scott, and I will look at people like Bradley, and I will look at people like Colby that are willing to take a risk, that are willing to say, I'll put my name out there. You can judge me. I'll write a book. I threw that book in the trash can 100 times. But here's the bottom line. I'm advancing confidently in the direction of my dream. And I'm endeavoring to live a life that only I want to imagine. Nobody else can imagine it for me. And I have found uncommon success in common hour. Now, has it been painful? Yeah. Has it been lonely? Yes, but there is no greater feeling in the world when you wake up every day and you know you found your voice. When you wake up every day and you get an email from some kid that says, the 20 minutes I spent with you was better than the 4 years I spent in college. That's what motivates me every day.
Colby,
Awesome.
Colby, we're kindred spirits, brother, and I can't wait to meet you in person and sit down and deep dive into this conversation a little more. And part of it will probably have to be offline, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. Guys, listen to me. Agents, insurance agents, listen to this. Help as many people as you can. Gary Vaynerchuk, 5149. You need to get in the boat with them. Share personal experiences, ask questions, get personal with these people. Get to know people on a personal level. Bradley and everybody I know says, my God, Scott Howell, I've never seen a human being that knows as many people in the state of Alabama as you do. I know a shitload of people, I'll tell you that. Now, some may like me and some may not, but I know a shitload of them. So you got to get out and get to know as many people as you can and stop aggressively waiting on the phone to ring in your office, because that ain't going to happen anymore. That's not the world we live in insurance. The old high school football coach, State Farm agent sitting there aggressively waiting on the phone to ring just didn't – that business model has kind of run its course. But you need to write good business for the agency that you represent. You need to write good business for the company that you represent. And Bradley Flowers, I love you. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, Colby.
Guys, have a great day. You are listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. If you need to know more about me or you need to get in touch with Scott, you can always reach me at theinsuranceguyonline.com or email me at iprotectins@gmail.com. And if you need to get in touch with Mr. Bradley Flowers, go to bradleyflowersinsurance.com or email him at bradley@saralandinsurance.com. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to being with you again real soon on the next episode of the Insurance Guys. Take care.